A very pleasant good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jonathan McNamara. A very special episode of JMU Sound Off live from Hardywood West in Richmond, Virginia at the JMU Duke Club Caravan event that is making its way around Virginia, giving an opportunity for fans to interact with our new athletic administration as well as coaches from across the JMU landscape. From day one here at JMU Sound Off, we have focused the spotlight on the importance of you, the fans, investing in both the Duke Club and the Montpelier Collective. And that's why tonight we want to have a special conversation to give you the perspective of those who are leading these programs across JMU about what they think about the important role that you play as fans in helping all of our programs to be successful. So before we get started, as always, want to thank our sponsors first from the Montpelier Collective, Skyline Financial Partners, Where's Woody, Talent Corps, and Your Purple Nation. To kick off tonight's event, we want to have a conversation with Cliff Wood. Cliff Wood has a unique perspective on the important role that you as fans play in investing in JMU, both as somebody who used to be involved with the JMU Duke Club as a staff member and now leading the Montpelier Collective. So Cliff, thanks for taking a few minutes to talk with us tonight. I know you've seen firsthand a lot of the discussion that's out there over the last couple of weeks about both the important role the fans play in investing in the Montpelier Collective, but also some of the questions that are out there. And we want to give you an opportunity to address anything you've seen, but to also highlight some of the things that are happening in addition to not just investing in student athletes. Those student athletes are really making investments in the community as well. Just to start off, maybe touch on that aspect, the community service piece, and why it was so important to really build that into the foundation of the collective.
Sure. So when we started, it's very easy to say this doesn't feel right. I'd like the old days back of amateurism when you didn't have these things, and you could do that, and we can watch as teams pass us by. I don't necessarily like it, but it's where we are today. So you either change or you die in this world. So, we're going to change, and if we were going to do it, we wanted to make it feel like something JMU. Yeah. So we wanted to add a community service aspect to it. So we decided to create a 501c3, and part of the stipend that our student athletes get requires them to do a certain amount of community service in the Shenandoah Valley. So it gives them an opportunity to give back to the community that they get their education in, and it helps us build our brand as well as their personal brand.
So when you talk to the student athletes who have gotten involved with whether it's the Red Cross, Boys and Girls Club, or at least from my perspective as somebody who's volunteered to support it, they've really embraced this, because I think this is another way that they're getting to use their personalities, getting to use their brands to not just amplify their own voice, but to amplify something that they're passionate about. Speak to what you've seen from the student athletes and how this is also an opportunity for them to really grow as people off the field in their connection to the community, but also connection to what will be their future professional life as well.
And I think what they're realizing is they do have a brand name. When you're a student athlete at James Madison, you have a brand name. So, versus me or you talking about the importance of the Red Cross and a blood drive, that's not going to resonate with other students like it will with one of our student athletes doing it. We've also grown the groups of charities that we work with to make sure that we include charities that resonate with them, the ones that are important to them. So it's like anytime anybody does community service, once you do it, you feel great about doing it. We did a good job. You did a good job making sure that we videoed the Boys and Girls Club event that we did with football. And look, you started off by saying, some people are making comments, both positive and ways we can improve. One of the ways we can improve is with our transparency. I'm going to tell you straight out, we are never going to report who the kids or what the kids get as a stipend.
And there's a reason for that too.
Yeah, it's like, no, when I worked at CarMax, we didn't run around telling everybody what each other's salaries were. But what we can do a better job with is the charity work that they do. We're going to do a better job saying which student athletes are Montpelier Collective athletes. So, what I think people don't realize is we have a board. They do a great job. Pretty much all of them work except for me and Jake Kuntz a little bit. So it's a shop of about 1.5. Yeah. We have really good interns, but it's hard to get all the things done that the ideas are coming in. We're going to do better next year. And I think with new state law that goes into effect in July, we can get more support from JMU. So even if we can increase our bandwidth, transparency is one of the first things that we're going to tackle.
And another thing, from day one, the first time I ever heard you talk about the collective, your first comment was, before you donate to the collective, make sure you're supporting the Duke Club. We're at a Duke Club event tonight, right, which really highlights kind of the synergy between the Duke Club and the Montpelier Collective, and understanding that it can't be an either or. There has to be support for both. Can you address that one more time and also talk to how that relationship has grown over time and how this new law can also potentially open up ways that you can work together?
Sure. The Duke Club is important, and giving back to JMU Athletics is important. That's the infrastructure that we're set up on. You know, we are one bucket amongst a bunch of buckets in JMU Athletics. So what I would ask is, like, if you have money to donate that to James Madison. We just passed the May 15th deadline, so hopefully everybody got their ticket money in, so their parking's all squared away and their tickets are squared away. If you have extra money, we would love to talk to you about a donation to Montpelier Collective, because we're on a trajectory like this. Somebody asked me at an event the other night, how important is adding to the collective? I said, I don't know. How important is winning? Because it's that important to these kids that are going to come here and play, and the kids that we want to retain. Look, we're not going to retain every kid that gets a Power 5 offer to leave here. And there are people that get upset about that. Look, I'm the one negotiating it. I get upset about it too. But it's where you're comparing apples to oranges. Are we going to keep some kids? Yeah. Are you going to find out that we kept those kids? No. So that's kind of the way it's going to look. And I think it was I'm just going to speak honestly about it. It was a perfect storm when Kurt Signetti left. He took 10 kids immediately. The second day he walked out of the door, he recruited them as a group and they left. He was able to get like 3 more. No other coach in the country that has left the program has taken that many players with him. It's a perfect storm. It's, if you look at Mark Byington when he left, he got 1 player, right? And I think that's more the norm. And I think, you can live with that. Terrence Edwards left. He went to, Louisville. He went to an ACC school. He got a good NIL deal. I think everybody wishes him well. And then we're going to continue to move on. I know we're going to talk to Preston here in a minute, Coach P, and we're going to have a really good team next year. So that's what we need to focus on.
And then one other aspect that I just want to highlight while we wait for our first coach to come is we've done some really creative things at the collective to try to bring people closer to the programs. One of those was the Coach for the Day experience, which I think was really, at least from my perspective, the best of the collective in action, because it gave donors, it gave people who are close to these programs an opportunity to see firsthand not only what makes JMU football so special, but what makes the athletes and the coaching staff. Speak to the potential opportunities that we can build even deeper, more meaningful connections to fans of this program by bringing them in and using the collective, but also by bringing them closer to the student athletes now who can be more out front in terms of building those relationships with the community, advocating for products and other businesses as well.
Yeah, I can't thank Coach Chesney enough for letting us have that type of access. And really before that, Coach Byington in an actual game, letting us have the type of access for Coach for a Day. And I think, I think it was a good experience for Coach Chesney and the kids. He'd be willing to try something in season as well. So I think we're going to continue to try to have those experiences. And I think that it's like what you said, that's what we're pretty good at. Honestly, those don't bring in a lot of money. So it's up to our fundraisers, which right now is me, to bring in big money. Having the university support like Scooter Rinkin and Dylan Thomas, I can work with development officers when they make visits. What are you interested in? If you're interested in making your Duke Club gift and then giving a restricted gift to volleyball, that's great. If you'd like to, hey, you know what? I'd like to give that gift to volleyball, but I want to make an NIL gift to volleyball. Dylan and Scooter will going forward be able to work with me to get those deals closed. So we're excited about that.
And then the last thing before we bring on our coaches, and we'll also touch on some of this with our athletic director. You led with transparency. We're going to continue to do that as we go forward. If there are people who have questions there, if there are people who want to know a little bit more about how their donation is used, how can they reach out to you? How can they find out more about some of those questions that they may have? Again, knowing that we're not going to be able to get into specifics about deals or negotiations with players. But again, I know you really are passionate about making sure that somebody who's out there who's a fan of this program can feel confident in their donation to the collective and confident that it's going to be used in the best way possible to help this program grow.
Yeah, look, you have a right to know where your money's gone. So I'd love to talk to you about it. I had a couple of great conversations last night at the event. So I've been trying to tag along on these events so I can handle those questions on the side. You can reach out at montpeliercollective.com. All my contact info is in there, or just hit the contact us button. That goes to me and one of our interns. Shout out to our new intern, Grant Painter. It's his first day. He's at the Sunbelt Baseball tournament right now. So he probably won't answer. I'll answer this week. And then I'll answer anything you have to talk about.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that, we're going to bring on our first coach today, Shauna Regan. First one of the day. All right, Coach. The JMU women's basketball team, another awesome season, making noise in the Sun Belt once again.
Coach.
And Coach Regan, good to see you as always. Coach, we're having a conversation about the importance of fans in the JMU universe investing in their program, whether it's investing in the Duke Club, investing in the Montpelier Collective. I want to start with the Duke Club. You've been at events like this for many years now and have seen firsthand the important role that building these bridges, building the connections to fans has in helping to not only make sure that AUBC is filled with fans cheering on your Dukes, but also making sure that you have the resources you need to stay at the top of the Sun Belt and to compete for an opportunity to compete in the NCAA tournament. Speak to that aspect of if somebody's watching this. One thing I've heard is there's never been a time for a fan to be able to have more of an impact than the success of the program. I just like your thoughts on that in general and what it means for you and your ability to go get the best possible talent to Harrisburg.
Well, there's a couple of things, and there's a couple different ways now, a couple different arms that you can get into this and really help, right? And the one thing that I think JMU has always had at its core is just the people around here, right? It is the community. We have always had a great community level of support for our games. Our student athletes, when they're walking around town, it's just, you feel the community, you feel very relevant in the community. So just starting with that has no monetary requirement, right, to be a great supporter. The Duke Club and what that's been able to do over the years, right, and how it builds and how it funds scholarships, and now it gives us resources and budget, and it helps us travel, and so we're not on a bus for 14 hours. There's so many different things that the Duke Club helps, and Cliff was one of the first people to tell me it's only 7% of JMU grads. Is that still the thing that are giving back to even the Duke Club? And I think it's crazy for the amount of support people have. So if you're listening to this and you don't give, you better start. It doesn't take much, right? It's even
if we get to 14%, I mean, what would we
correct?
Do? Yeah.
Exactly. Not even a quarter of the people that went here. And so it's also the most recommended university from the people that graduate from here. That's a U.S. News and World Report thing. So everybody's happy leaving here. Let's keep the happiness going. But no, the contribution to the Duke Club and what they've been able to do has been outstanding. And now I know it's morphed into a couple other things. And I'll use, I'm getting long winded, but you're gonna, we have a foundation. It's called the Assist Club. It's just for our program. And we were able to, I think, hold on to Susha Kozlova this year because we were able to pay through the foundation for her to go get her visa renewed, which is something she needed to do. And I know it's a shame we had to send her to the Bahamas. I know she was really
torn up over that.
There was she just
got expired.
You can go to, but right, like you're gonna lose that kid to a Nebraska that can say, oh, no problem, we've got the resources for that. And so those are things, right? That's a little thing, and that's something that's goes a long way with player retention, which is what the challenge is in this day and age of we got to hold on to Susha Kozlova for one more year. And so that's a little contribution. Really, it's a bunch of little contributions built up, and it helps us with player retention. And so I didn't even get into NIL, and I'll let you ask me about that if you like. But there's so many different arms and ways you can contribute. And being a Duke Club member is, I think, the start of everything. How you can make that more is up to you and what ways you want to do it.
So I did want to ask you though. So obviously it's no secret to anybody who's watching a podcast like this that the landscape of college athletics has changed. The types of conversations you're having with a recruit in their living room about coming to Harrisburg is a lot more now than just the arena and what kind of competitive atmosphere you're going to be able to offer. So to somebody who's saying, I gave my gift to the Duke Club, I know that's important, I'm considering a gift to the collective. What does those resources do now for you to be able to not only retain the talent that we have in Harrisburg, but to make your job easier in terms of allowing us again to compete for the Sun Belt Championship and to compete for opportunities in the NCAA tournament? Because the other schools that you're competing against, I assume, are doing a lot in the NIL space. Speak to that.
Yeah, and it's the reality of it, right? And I do believe what you said earlier. There is no better time to have an immediate impact with a monetary contribution, because and I know it can be viewed a lot of different ways, the paying players and stuff. No, it's what it is right now, and it's keeping us competitive. And so there's levels to it, right? And I think the most important thing, and I was having a conversation with Peyton McDaniel's AAU coach, and Peyton McDaniel's never had her hand out. She's never been one to be like, well, I need X amount of dollars to stay. She's staying because of the investment and the relationship and all that stuff. But she deserves it more than some others sometimes. And so, that contribution really helps with not recruiting players, right, but retaining players. And that's what you want. Is I've built this program, and we've built this program based on player development and getting them here as a freshman, sophomore, and building it. And if you're doing it and it's 2 years in and you've lost the kid that you've invested in, it's hard to swallow. And most kids don't need, you're not bartering as if it's a bidding contest, right? You're rewarding somebody for their loyalty in that way here. And I'm glad about where it is in a sense, because 20 years ago, I mean, you're talking about student athletes were rubbing pennies together and eating saltines and ramen noodles and stuff like that. So it has evolved. It's helping them get through stuff better and live a better life. But it's a massive contribution to give to the collective, and it really helps us keeping our really good kids here.
How much does it come up in recruiting versus even say last year?
Every conversation. And no, every conversation. Now, personally, if it's the first question I get, that's probably not the relationship we're looking for anyway. But in the end, it comes up in every conversation. And so, some need it more than others. Some feel like it's a part of the just the process more than others. But every single conversation. And it's not like, what are you offering? It's like, do you guys have NIL here? What does it look like? Are you open to me having other opportunities? Zakiya Stevenson, we just got from Ole Miss. She didn't ask for a handout. She just asked for the ability for me to support her in her endeavors, which is what the NIL space really began as, right? And so it's a every conversation topic, and you're going to struggle to field a team that's competitive enough to win championships if you don't have it in some capacity. And again, this is not necessarily the way in, but keeping really good players happy and rewarded, and helping them out when you can, I think it is a really important thing as far as staying competitive.
And Sean, I was going to give you a chance to, part of the reason we're doing this tonight is to bring the spring tour and the coaches caravan to people who couldn't actually maybe attend an event. Give you an opportunity just to reflect on the season, another year in the Sun Belt. What have you learned from this? And maybe give a preview for what you expect for next season. I know there's been a lot of roster turnover and across the board, but just give fans who are excited already about 2024, 25, what they can expect.
Yeah. So for those that followed us, right, it's a grueling, it's a tough finish because we got all the momentum. We go into the championship game. We turn it over way too many times. I'm not even going to mention the number of how many times it was because it makes me want to throw up every time. But what it did for me was if we had won that championship, I don't think I would have recruited with the same urgency. I think it really showed us, look, if we're an inch away from it, I don't want to be an inch away from it. I want to be 4 feet in front of it. And so to me, it was like we got to elevate our guard play. And our guard play was not good enough for us to go. Marshall, I thought, had better guards than us in that game. And we were this close, but still. So we recruited 3 really good guards. One was Rose Scott from Marshall, ironically enough, averaged 21 a game before she parted ways with them. Zakiya Stevenson was a starter at Ole Miss for 5 games, played in all 30 games. Really good point guard from Princess Anne High School, Virginia kid. And then Bree Robinson was a freshman at Michigan State. Can play point, can play combo. I mean, could run for president of JMU at some point in time. She's absolutely wonderful kid. So we got those 3, and again, we're able to retain Peyton McDaniel, Susha Kozlova, Shanti Barnes, and others. And so it got us going. To me, I'm very confident in where we are and the holes we patched. And so I went out, I scheduled some really tough ones here. And I hope everybody just hangs on to their hat because, we're at Notre Dame. Yeah, we're at NC State. We got Stanford in a tournament in California. So I'm that confident in our team and the guard play. And I do think at the very least, you're going to get tested and figure out where you are a week before Sunbelt. So I'm really excited. I think we'll be in that conversation again. And that's the idea. One of my founding beliefs is the standard is the standard. And it's everywhere here at JMU. And the standard is you're supposed to win a championship. And if you don't, to me, it's, you have fun in the journey, but it's still a failure in the end result. So that's what we're striving for. That's what we're going to strive for again this year. And I'm not afraid to say that. But but we need the support and monetary fine. But in the gym too. And I think our team will play better with butts in the seats. And so if you can't make it to Hardywood, you better make it to the AUBC for a couple games.
Sean, I just want to say thank you to you and your staff and your players. So it's part of every program that we do at Sound Off is we understand there's a lot of work that people don't understand, a lot of sacrifice that comes from everyone involved in this program. So thank you. Congratulations on the year and all the best going forward. You get a chance to introduce the big boss, though. He's coming up. So we're going to have Matt make his way over, but all the best to you and good luck as you go throughout the summer. We'll see you in the fall.
Thank you. On to Matt Roan.
And our next guest, for people who are watching this program, you're probably familiar with the new AD here at James Madison University. Somebody who's been introduced over the last couple of weeks. It's been a busy, I'm assuming, crazy whirlwind. So, Matt, welcome to the program. First of all, have you caught your breath?
No, not at all. And I heard big as I was standing off to the side there. So I'm assuming ideas, vision, not size and stature, right?
So, Matt, the purpose of this discussion was to kind of bring people who couldn't make it to a spring tour event, to bring them kind of inside what they're going to hear tonight here at Hardywood, but to also shine a light on the important role that fans can now have in investing not only in the success of the Duke Club, but also the Montpelier Collective. So I know this is an issue that you're pretty passionate about and something that you're going to be working really closely on over the months and years to come. Speak maybe first to the importance of the Duke Club and why events like this, where you're building those connections to some of the more passionate supporters in the landscape, how that fuels you and gives you the resources you need for all the coaches here to be successful.
Sure. And I think when you look at these events themselves, right, they are in some ways an opportunity for us to say thank you. It's going to Middleburg, it's coming to Richmond, it's going to Norfolk, it's going back to Stanton. To simply say thank you and to introduce 3 new faces. Coach O is a familiar face for a long time, but for the rest of us, it's an opportunity, whether it's visiting with 50 or visiting with 150 tonight. We have an opportunity to put a name with faces and to say thank you for supporting us and do all that sort of stuff. But the Duke Club is philanthropic. For us, we need to raise resources to operate, to build. And for us to be able to keep the trajectory going, we'll need to do more and we'll need to ask more from more people more often. And so for us, the Duke Club is the lifeblood of our programs, and it's what allows us to be successful and strive for excellence.
Maybe one more point on the Duke Club is, we try to take a lot of the message board discussions and Twitter and bring it into a more manageable conversation on shows like this where we can address some of those things. But you're constantly hearing, hey, can we do this with the stadium? Can we get more uniforms? Those things take resources. Anybody who's gone to the grocery store lately knows it's a little bit more expensive than it was a few years ago. I have a feeling it's the same in college athletics. So what would you say to somebody who's saying, hey, we want to see all these great things? What role can them as a donor play in helping arm you with what you need to make those tough decisions each and every day in your role?
All I'll ever ask is that everybody do what they can. And whether that's giving $50 to join the Duke Club or whether that's giving $50 million to support a capital project. I mean, those are the things that we want to lean into, we want to embrace. And the fact that JMU it means a lot to a lot of people. And all we'll ever ask is to do what you can. But your point about the stadium, I've never heard. Are people interested in expanding the
Talk
east
to
side
Steve Brown afterwards. He has some ideas.
I've never heard that one before, but no, you're exactly right. I mean, everybody's dealing with it. So when we get on a bus or we get on a plane or we stay in a hotel or we feed a team, it is more expensive today than it was yesterday, and it'll be more expensive tomorrow than it is today. And so for us, just continuing to push, continuing to strive for excellence, and it takes all of us to do that.
So I'm going to ask a selfish question. What are your thoughts on NIL, Matt?
Again, never heard of it, but for me, we talk about operating in the Duke Club and how it's involved in that. We talk about building buildings and how the Duke Club is involved in that. Cliff, what you all have done, the leadership that we have in place with the officers, with the board, with people that are contributing to the Montpelier Collective, NIL for us, the most important asset that we have are student athletes. And this is a tremendous opportunity. We do it the right way, right? We use it to retain first and foremost. Now we can use it to recruit and to make JMU as attractive as we possibly can. But it is different. I'll acknowledge that it's different. And there's a lot of people that say, hey, I don't like it. Whether we like it or not, if we don't embrace it, then we're doomed to fail.
The thing that sticks out with me is we were at this event last year with a lot of old faces. And when we were talking about NIL, nobody really knew what it was. The amount of change that has happened from May of last year to May of this year is crazy. What is the biggest change that you've seen over the last year with this?
And I never want to be overly critical, but I think we're finally starting to get some guidance, right? And you've probably heard this phrase before of guardrails. We're finally starting to get a little bit of guardrails where we can talk about it. And at one point it was, Cliff, you and I can't necessarily talk about NIL, even though you're in charge of our collective and the president. I have to keep that away. And now the NCAA says, hey, you can have those conversations. And when you can have those conversations, it's better for the student athlete, it's better for the institution, it's better for the people involved.
I was going to ask you, you had a chance to be on the sidelines for the spring game, got your first taste of a small taste of the tailgate atmosphere. What has been maybe your initial takeaway from engaging with this fan base? I know you're no stranger to it from an outsider's perspective, but just in the first couple of weeks that you've really been on the ground and in the first couple of events, you've had an opportunity to introduce yourself to fans. What's been your initial takeaway? And what do you think that gives you from a perspective of what is going to come in the future as this program continues to grow?
It's a differentiator. JMU's fan base is elite. When I talk about you can't put a label on JMU, G5, it's not a G5 fan base. Part of what attracted me to this position was, one, I'm from this state. It matters to me representing an institution that's in the state that I love, that I call home. The infrastructure, the resources, the tremendous potential here. But part of that potential and part of that attractiveness is that fan base. And for me, when you talk about Duke Club, when you talk about NIL, we have a army of people. We have JMU Nation that when we cast a vision, and it's a vision that's shared, starts from the top down, we'll make a compelling case for why people should support it, and looking forward to it.
So going to give you an opportunity to talk about the baseball team a little bit, because getting an opportunity now in the Sun Belt tournament this week. It's been another program that's making their national voice heard. It's been something we've talked about all year, the Everything School. Just be a little brag on this program and what they have in terms of potential this week and what could potentially be an NCAA tournament berth coming soon.
So if the NCAA Baseball Selection Committee is listening, this team deserves to be in already to win 32 games and to have the opportunity this past weekend to go to Troy. Tough place to play, first and foremost, tough opponent. To go in there to win 2 of 3 after a rain out earlier in the week, which was, again, a missed opportunity. Hate that didn't get to occur down in Blacksburg. But to be the number 4 seed, which means you finished 4th in the regular season in an outstanding baseball league, to have the opportunity that we have in front of us in Montgomery, I think the team is already deserving, and hopefully we can make a little noise in Montgomery to solidify that spot and be on the right side of the bubble.
And as we wait for our next guest to come in, I was going to ask you, though, the Everything School is a slogan that gets thrown out there, but there's actually a practical nature, is that because we've had success across the board this year, it's kept JMU in the minds of the average fan. Yeah. It's kept it in the minds of donors. What kind of potential does that have for you, to this momentum, this wave that continues to grow in increasing that number, which we talked about earlier, was 7% of JMU grads are giving back to Duke Club? Could we get it to 14? Could we get it to, even more than that as we move over the years to come? That could really arm us with even more resources to really continue to keep the ship moving in the right direction.
Oh, for sure. I think when you reach out to alums and former student athletes, first, they want to have a positive experience. And by all accounts, I think the people that I have met that played field hockey or basketball or football or baseball, you name it, soccer, they've all had a positive experience. And then when you can go to them now and say, look at what we're doing and help us continue to elevate. This is a program that you cared about while you were pouring blood, sweat, and tears into it. But in order to ensure that the next generation has as positive experience as you did, we need you to be involved.
I was going to ask one more question. I'll give Cliff a chance to before we get to our next guest. We had the defensive coordinator for JMU last night on our show, and he said something that really perked my ears. He said, when you talk to coaches that are not affiliated with JMU, one of the more consistent points they make is, this is the place you want to be. I'm curious what your colleagues in athletic administrations think about JMU in the year that they've had. I mean, if you think about the multiple college game day appearances we've had now, the NCAA tournament, to have it all happen at one time, I assume when you go to conferences and places around the country, this is a program that's name is probably coming up more than it was in the past.
No doubt about it. I think, among my peer set in the Sun Belt, I think those individuals look at us and look at me as having an incredible opportunity inside of that league. But it's even beyond that. One of my best friends is Josh Brooks, the athletics director at the University of Georgia. And when obviously he knew I was going through the process, and when things were finalized, the first text that I got from him was, hey, that's an elite place. That's an elite job. I'm so happy for you. It's not people looking up or looking at it's everybody's paying attention to JMU and what we're doing.
Matt, we said it to every one of our guests. We'll say it to you. We know there's a lot that happens off the field, off the court, in the boardrooms, the types of decisions you make. It's a lot of sacrifice that comes with a job like this. I got a chance to meet your family. They're amazing when you came to town. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for what they're doing. I know you've been bragging your kids a little bit to field. So your wife is saying to make it worth their while. But just congratulations on the opportunity and everything that lies ahead. And all the best over what I'm sure is going to be a busy couple of months for you.
Oh, I appreciate it so much. They're in Kentucky today. We are showing a house currently. And so if you're a praying
there's a buyer
person,
out there.
Please pray. Yeah, if you're watching, there's a house in Richmond, Kentucky that has your name on it. I promise you, it'll make you a great home. But I'm better when they're around me, and so I can't wait to get them there this summer, and we're going to have a blast.
Awesome. Well, we got another new face to come on the show, but thanks for taking
Thanks, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Our next guest has had to say busy is an understatement over the last couple of weeks, really remaking this roster for JMU men's basketball, a team that went to the NCAA tournament, wins a game last year. Coach Brad, thanks for taking a few minutes of your day today. First of all, have you taken a deep breath since you got the job? I know it's been in kind of a crazy few months remaking this roster since you've gotten the job. It's been pretty impressive to see.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I've got a chance to catch my breath a little bit in different pockets, here and there. But, man, we've been getting after it, obviously, as you know, inheriting, the roster that we've got. But a great place to start, with Xavier Brown. He's been unbelievable. And then we've signed 9 players in the last 7 weeks. And so a lot of visits, a lot of phone calls, Zoom calls, all those different things. And then in between, getting a chance to meet people and getting, ingrained in the culture has been wonderful.
So this is your first opportunity to recruit for a school like JMU. And we've talked to everyone that's been on tonight about kind of the everything school mantra of this success across the board. What has it been like? And what has been the kind of the message you're receiving from recruits now when you're getting an opportunity to represent a brand like JMU that's had this unprecedented string of success?
Well, it's very real. That name carries a lot of weight right now. And so we're all thankful to be able to come in and capitalize on the success that's been here and the momentum and keep it going. But that's a real name, with the recruits right now. And it's not just in the DMV area. It's all over the place. And so we've been able to recruit from all over the country. And it's exciting because our success rate, once we get them to campus, is, as you can imagine, is really high, just with the hospitality, the campus, the town, certainly our facilities, and then the success right now, and that's what everybody wants to be a part of.
A big part of the reason why we want to have this conversation was to give fans an opportunity to hear directly from coaches about the important role that they can play when they invest in the success of our programs, whether that's an investment in the Duke Club or an investment in NIL. From your perspective, as a coach who's, I have a feeling, is constantly asking the athletic director for more things to help make you more successful, speak to the fans about the role they can play. And then we're going to talk specifically more about the NIL piece in a second.
Yeah, I think it's a unique time right now because you have a real opportunity to be involved in the success, right? You've got a chance to really be a part of this. And so things are changing, and we've got to be able to adapt. We don't have to compromise, though. We can still, be who we are. We can still serve our mission. We can still, make alums proud and still have a great program out there with good people. But we need to be able to keep up. And we got to make sure that we're staying on top of things, capitalizing on the success, the momentum that we've got right now. And we're going to be able to close that gap. We really are, because our name has never been stronger than it is right now. So we've got to make sure we're capitalizing on it.
So you had tremendous success at Moorhead. What is and I know you've only been here a few weeks, but what is the first difference that you notice about this place versus the place you left?
Well, we did have great success, and I loved it there. It was wonderful. But, here it has a real wow factor when you get here. Okay. And there's so many hands on deck. There's an army of people, right? I always said we were kind of a DIY university. I was used to doing everything. And I found out here that we have a full-time person who just does the scoreboard, which is like incredible, right? So for us to be able to really focus on recruiting, focus on coaching, has been a huge blessing, because there are so many people who are willing to help, and they're very specific at what they do, and what they do is make JMU great every single day.
So we've gotten to know each other through the NIL program that we have here. Just talking conceptually around college basketball, you've been a head coach for 10 years?
8, 9-ish. Yeah, that's a little. Yeah,
you're supposed to know that. I mean,
yeah,
I was giving you a little more age on you. Say 8 years. What is that been the biggest change you've seen? And how much has it changed just in the last 2 years that it's been in effect?
Yeah, you know, the NIL, the transfer portal. So you have to be able to adapt, right? So you've got a certain way you'd like to play, but at the end of the day, you know, it's a different model when every spring as you're putting a team together, right? And so as you put player number 6 together, that's going to affect who player number 7 and 8 are. So we're very mindful of that, and I think the big reason that we've had success is that we are keeping our focus on building a great team, not stacking talent, not compiling a roster. And so the NIL piece is a factor in that. And so that is the biggest change. Obviously, we've been dealing with the transfer portal, navigating that for the last 3-4 years. NIL has become a bigger part of that conversation now. And so it's not the biggest piece in the recruiting. Obviously, we're making sure, you know, we get guys that want to be here for the right reasons. But at the end of the day, that is a part of the conversation, right? Is that they want to be compensated and we want to be able to, you know, compete with those guys. But we still want to make sure that it's transformational, that it's not completely transactional, you know, but it has absolutely has been the biggest change.
Just curious from what the next couple of months looks like for you. Take fans inside now that you've kind of put the pieces together for your roster. What does a summer for a NCAA Division I college basketball coach look like? Probably a lot of traveling to maybe some tournaments and things to look for the future of this program, but just take fans behind the scenes of what that looks like.
Yeah, you know, in the summer, you do have your recruiting that you've got to get out, because recruiting high school players for us is still going to be really important. You know, as we go through and we're going to go out to all these places and go to AAU events and evaluate, you know, because at the end of the day, we want to be selective with transfers, not reliant once we get going and get our roster in a stable position moving forward. So high school guys are still very important, but the most important players are the ones on your roster. And so, you know, you're allowed to have 8 weeks in the summer with your team. And so we'll use about 7 weeks of that. I'm not big on the whole 8-week thing, but we spend a ton of time with our players. We really do. You got to think we only get 4 hours a week on the court with a coach, right? And so they're obviously allowed to be in the gym on their own and things like that. So we're going to supplement a lot of time together. We're going to have a lot of team meals. They're going to be at my home. We're going to try to get out to different season ticket holders' homes and have meals. We're going to do some community service. We're going to do some fun things, right? We're going to get them out of their comfort zone, and we're going to experience everything that our area has to offer outside of the court. Because to me, the summertime is when your team is built. You know, that's when that trust, that camaraderie is really built. You find out the different personalities of your guys. Being on the court's important, but once you get into September and October, it flips, right? So now you're on the court 20 hours a week with them. You have less time off the court with them. So we try to really front load that with what we get with them in the summer.
I was going to ask you, because you mentioned community service. One thing that we talked about with the collective is the ability now for players as a part of that to advocate and support local nonprofits. That was something this past season. We saw a number of players, Xavier Brown being one of them, that helped to amplify the voice of these local nonprofits that without their platforms really can't reach the audiences that they're desiring. Speak to how that is going to be an important part of the way you run this program, is making sure that they are finding ways to get back.
Well, and at the end of the day, you know, athletics is the front porch of this university, right? And we're not going to run from that. And so even in the recruiting process, we tell players, like, listen, you're going to be the face of the university. Okay, if that's not for you, then let us know right now, because we're going to put you out there. We're going to have people that everybody in the community and JMU can be really proud of. And so we want to capitalize on that, because it's a great opportunity, because obviously you talk about the NIL, you talk about community service, you talk about serving a bigger purpose for all the people in our community and having a huge impact. It's a win-win for everybody, but it's certainly something that we're going to be involved in with our guys.
Well, Coach, just give you one more opportunity to speak directly to the fans. Basketball season is going to be here before they know it. What does it mean for you to have a packed arena? We all saw the videos from Brooklyn about the impact that this fan base can have when they invest in this program, when they invest by showing up. Why is that so important? And what do you hope to see in terms of the season ticket numbers going into next year?
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait to see the AUBC get packed out. I know our guys are really looking forward to it. It's an unbelievable facility, but it's even better when it's packed out with all the JMU fans. And so we're still building our roster. We got a couple more spots to fill, but I really like where we're at right now, and we're going to put a great product on the floor and compete for championships. That's what we're going to do. You know, that's what we tell recruits, and that's what we're going to tell our fans, and that's what we're going to work towards every single day.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the opportunity. First of all the best to your family. I know they're making the move to Harrisonburg as well, and you're just like our last guest said, you're better when your family's around you. So we're excited to see them get more ingrained in the community. But all the best, seriously, y'all, and thank you for what you do. And Cliff, anything else you have?
Thanks, Coach P. Appreciate everything you've done so far. Looking forward to get started.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Coach. And with that, we're going to bring on our final guest for the night. Somebody I'm sure all of you are familiar with over the last couple of months, as Coach Bob Chesney has really hit the ground running with JMU football, just finishing spring practice 2024, getting a chance to see what this roster was like for the first time. Coach Chesney, thanks for taking some time with us tonight. Yeah. We're having a discussion tonight about the important role that fans can have in investing in this program, whether it's an investment in the JMU Duke Club at events like this, or what their support can be to the collective. Now that you're getting a chance to go out and meet fans on a tour like this for the first time, first of all, what has been your initial impression of just maybe the passion behind this fan base, and how we can maybe translate that into increased support for JMU football and the entire athletic department as a whole?
Yeah, well, first, thanks for having me. Second of all, I think I noticed it right away on my press conference day, right? The amount of people that were present there. Then we took a trip to Texas, and that stood out to me when that whole stadium was painted purple. That was pretty obvious when we were at that event, that pep rally event, just how much people care about the program, about the young men playing in that program. And then obviously, as we continue to go on this coach's caravan, it shows up more and more each time. I think, to me, it's about adding value. Right? So how can you add value? At what point can you add value? If you like what you saw on the field last year, if you liked the wins, if you liked the depth that was there, it's really important that you help us continue to build that, because there's never been a moment in time where you can affect a roster and a program more than you can legally right now. Right? It was illegally done for many years in the past, but right now, legally, you have a chance to kind of circle the wagons and get behind and help a program in some way. How do you add value? Is it internships? Is it apartments? Is it a car? What ways can you do things to add value to this program so that in the end, these guys can stay, these guys can believe in it, and these guys don't get lured away by, some hopes and dreams and promises of numbers that they never end up seeing anyway, right? So I think that's the biggest thing, is how do you make sure they understand the value, because you're adding it to this program that allows them to never, ever think about leaving.
You talk about adding value. One of the ways that the collective is adding value is by giving players an opportunity to give back to the community. That's something you made as a hallmark of your programs, is making sure that was something that you were, first of all, openly talking about, but then openly showing your players why it was so important. We've seen that firsthand. I work for the American Red Cross. We had multiple JMU football players advocating for our mission. You've helped to speak out on that topic. We had Daryl Dengahay last night talking about what he's doing to help the special needs community. Speak to that, not only from the collective, but why it was so important for you to make that really a pillar of this program.
Well, I don't think that as far as the collective, having that be community driven, I think is important. But ultimately, that is our job. Our job then is to add value to the community and to the school. We don't just exist in a bubble inside the APC and play on that football field. These are young men that are human beings, and they should be treated that way. I don't look at these guys as just football players or X's and O's on a board. And I think our job, my job, is to also add value to this community, not just exist in it and take, but also make sure that you're giving. And that's a big part of any program that I'm ever going to be part of. That will be a big reason and a big calling card for us, is to make sure that we're not just taking. There's enough people in this world just taking. I think the ability for you to give, we do receive so much interest. We receive so much love. We receive so much support. It's also important that we're able to do that and reach back out to the community that does the same to us.
Coach, one of the things that through working with you, I've gotten an insight into is how some of the kids that come to JMU, yes, they're getting a free education, but a lot of them come with nothing. And some of the NIL deals we've done made me feel a lot better, not only because yes, they're a good football player, but it's really adding value to their life at JMU. Can you talk a little bit about why that's important to them?
Yeah, it's almost their ability to exist, right, and not have to find a job or a second job. I played Division III football, right? I had to work all summer long. I had to find jobs during the season. I had to find jobs during the off season. It was all part of it, right? And I think that now you don't have to do that. And I think the fact that we're hopefully changing the footprint of our recruiting area as well, and we're not just in this area, even though this has to be the heartbeat, this has to be the nucleus of our recruiting efforts. But ultimately, we have to be able to find good players where they are as well, and just continue to add add competition and add a talent to that roster. So it might happen for a kid from Texas or a kid from California. Well, now you add in the fact that they got to get here, they got to get their family here, they have to do those things, and the added costs that come with that. I agree with you. I think that there were some initiatives that were put forth by guys that did some community service that helped them just get here and just live here. And I think that is really important, because not everybody comes from wealth. Not everybody comes from the ability to do things and live as comfortably as they might like to. But when you could take that off their plate and they don't got to worry about, bouncing at a bar on a Saturday night after a game anymore because you're helping take care of them, I think that's really important and adds to their ability to tackle, the sport that they love.
How do you, clearly this is a big deal to parents, and when you're talking to recruits, how do you address that when it comes up?
The NIL in general
piece of it, yep.
I say that this is this is definitely a field that we play in, right? This is something we do. We on our football team want our best players to be receiving the most money when it comes down to it. We're not in a position where we're going to have guys paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not going to happen. But at the same point, we made a commitment to a good amount of guys on that team, right? And I think that was just to sort of show this is the work they've done in the winter, the work they've done throughout the spring. Now you have a chance to probably get some more, right? Depending on what you do in this next season that's about to show up. So we're looking for, just people to be their best. And the guys that we initially had conversations with, I said, look, you've cemented your place on this team in my mind. You've done everything right. Your grades are good. You've been involved in every community service initiative we have. We never had to worry about you not being in class or being late to meetings. You've done every single thing right. And that, in this day and age can be rewarded and should be rewarded. And that's, what we do. And that's what we talk about with the parents. We don't sit there and say we guarantee X, Y, Z, but there are promises that if you become this, that there could be something coming your way. But it's ultimately not my decision. It's going to be what their sons do with it, and just exactly where they cement their place on this roster.
Coach, I was going to ask you, we had a chance to talk to your defensive coordinator last night, and he said something that really stood out to me. He said, I want to talk about what my perception was of JMU before I ever got here. And he said, when I talked to coaches throughout the country about JMU, you're like, that's a job you want. That's a place you want to be. And he said, that's kind of what he's also hearing from recruits about this program, is they're hearing from high school coaches that that's a program you want to be. Speak to what the perception is of this program now that you're out on the road, more talking about JMU, and what kind of reception you're hearing, not only from those high school recruits here in Virginia, but you said you try to expand the map about JMU football nationwide.
It doesn't take too long to click on the internet and pull up if you never heard of it before, but chances are you've heard of JMU before. You're talking about perennial power, through all of FCS and now top 25 into FBS. You talk about a sold out stadium for, 27,000 for the next 3 years straight. You talk about an alumni group that will have 180 people in here, and we had, 80 or so last night, and everywhere you go, there's going to be people saying, go Dukes too, as you're walking down the street. I think that to me is not very hard to present to someone. And I think they all understand that this is something they want to be part of. When they look at, put on the rerun of College Game Day and just watch the energy around that surrounds this football team and in this community, there's really a very special place. And I think everybody understands that. And I think when you get here, it even gets a little bit better when you get a chance to get around the team and watch the coaches interact and watch the players interact with each other. I've heard so many high school coaches that came to our clinic or just, they're like, this feels like a place you'd want to be part of, right? This just feels like a program you'd want to be part of. And that's important to me, because it's, as much as the X's and O's are going to drive it, the relationships and how we treat each other is really, going to be what's going to allow us to reach our goals.
I'm going to ask you a fun question, because we've heard it from a number of your players. NCAA college football games coming out in July. And there's been a lot of buzz this week around it. I know I saw your kids here today. What is that going to be like to have kids all around the country, kids of young ages, kids like me still at heart, who are going to definitely fire up the game the night it's available, but they're going to be able to play as JMU, and they're going to be able to see your players in the game. I know it's going to mean a lot to them, but it's going to mean a lot to this brand to have that out there on consoles all across the country to introduce JMU football in another way to the next generation of fans.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. You're in their living room now, right? You're immediately in their living room. I hope there's streamers.
A lot more
flying.
coaches now get to call the plays as well.
That's right. That's right. But I hope there's streamers flying on that video. I hope that it gives you the full experience of what it's like. I hope College Game Day, there's a piece of that shows up on that video, because it is, again, it's a special place, and it's one that you can be in their living room now as a young kid playing, a game that they love with guys maybe they either love or guys they haven't even heard about yet, but then get a chance to experience what that game day feels like as well. And that I think is good for everyone.
Yeah, it will be also for all of us wannabe coaches out there. Well, we're now the ones having to make the tough decisions. Last question for you, just what's your message as we approach the next season? It's going to be here before we know it. I know there's a lot that has to happen before we get to game one. What's your message to fans that are going to be in Bridgefort Stadium before they know it, getting ready to cheer on this team? What we hope is another great season for JMU football.
I think that they have impact on this game. I think it's important for them to know. There's not one opposing coach that you would talk to that doesn't feel that way. There's not one that doesn't feel like when you walk into Bridgefort Stadium, you're not only playing against those 11 guys on that field and the coaches that are coaching, but you're also playing against that crowd, that band, that entire community, and you feel it from when you're walking through the parking lot, through the tailgating area, to walking into that stadium. Our spring game had 12,000 people at it, right? Or 10 or 12,000 people, whichever is 11 something, I think. But to have that many people at a spring game tailgating, and that to me spoke volumes about what this is about. So we certainly feel that energy certainly can be recycled throughout that stadium after big plays. And that is something that I think, that they have a job to impact that game just as much, I think, as the players do in some ways. So it's very important that they understand that. We're going to try to play a really exciting brand of football. We're going to be aggressive on defense. We're going to take chances on offense. And then we're going to do a lot of different things on special teams that probably haven't been done here in a little while. So I think, the product will be exciting to see. And, I'm excited to get out there finally and have a chance to experience that as well, because I have yet to also see a game day here. So
Coach, congratulations on the opportunity that's ahead of you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your staff. Thank you for your players. And to the fans, we hope you enjoyed today's conversation. A look again at the role that you play in helping all of the programs at JMU be successful. Again, if you would like to invest in the mission of the JMU Duke Club, JMUDukeClub.com. If you want to learn more or to make a contribution to the Montpelier Collective, MontpelierCollective.com. On behalf of Cliff Wood, Jonathan McNamara, Bob Chesney, we'll talk to you guys soon. Go Dukes. We'll see you in the fall.